Look at this! I took 9 million steps today.
Most of us have fond memories of playing Sonic the Hedgehog, so we were excited when we heard our favorite anthropomorphic blue hedgehog was coming to the big screen, until we saw the movie trailer. Sonic's design was an unmitigated and downright creepy disaster.
That's enough! That's enough!
What went so wrong with this iconic character, and what did they change to make him less horrifying in the new trailer? Sonic the Hedgehog is a pretty simple guy. He likes to run fast, collect rings, and eat chili dogs.
6 chili dogs to go, please.
Pretty straightforward stuff we can all relate to, except maybe the running part. By now, we've all seen the horrific initial trailer for the Sonic the Hedgehog movie, and our lives will never be the same because of it. Seriously, those teeth are the stuff of nightmares. Yeah, it's a little philosophical for this kind of video, but I can shed some light on how this happened. The production team was trying to make a realistic-looking version of a talking blue hedgehog from outer space. Yeah, they were kinda doomed from the very start.
That's no good.
But to be fair, giving classic characters a more modern look using current technology isn't a terrible idea. It just ended up being terrible in practice. The production crew actually based his design on another walking, talking animal stuck in a live-action movie, Ted. Yeah, the foul-mouthed teddy bear. They used that movie as an inspiration for how they wanted the computer-generated Sonic to appear in relation to all of the real-world settings and characters. But while Ted just looks like a big talking teddy bear, Sonic looked, well, like this. So what went wrong? In an effort to make Sonic look like a real alien creature, they tried to make him look more humanoid than he usually does. And in their defense, sometimes that works really well. Just look at the Na'vi from James Cameron's Avatar. Yeah, they're big and blue, but they're human-looking enough to help audiences relate to them. And to make the love scene look at least a little bit less creepy. But this blue alien from outer space ventured way too far into the Uncanny Valley. The Uncanny Valley describes how much something looks like a human and the emotional reaction we have to the resemblance. The Uncanny Valley comes into play when you're talking about objects that are a lot closer to being human but fall noticeably short. When something looks just slightly off regarding being human, we have a natural response to it, which involves feeling unsettled and creeped out. Just look at the people from the movie The Polar Express. They're not real humans, but they are so close to looking like them that they end up coming across as eerie. Merry Christmas! Thanks for all the nightmares. The phrase was originally used to describe robots and the way humans feel about them. Making a robot look more human makes us like it better, and we feel more empathy for the pile of bolts.
You'll be malfunctioning within a day, you nearsighted scrap pile.
But when it becomes too human, we go from feeling warm and fuzzy feelings to being repulsed. There are a lot of theories that try to explain why we feel that way. Maybe it's part of how we evolved to find mates and propagate our species. Unless you're in an episode of Rick and Morty, humans can't mate with robots. Or maybe it has something to do with the way we process stimuli when it involves conflicting visual cues. Regardless, things that try to look human and don't give most people a visceral reaction that goes way beyond merely thinking something doesn't look good. And Sonic? Well, his old design was nice and snug, nestled right inside the Uncanny Valley. Executive producer Tim Miller said giving Sonic realistic fur was a high priority, because the fur would essentially act as his clothes for the purpose of the movie. The first version of Sonic is covered in distinctive fur, but this was smoothed down a lot in the second version. His body's sleeker, and the spikes on his head and back are a lot sharper looking. It makes him look a lot more like the source material, and it works a lot better. And then there are Sonic's shoes.
What are those?
Producer Neil Mortiz said the team tried to pay homage to all the variations on Sonic's iconic red sneakers over the years. But they also tried to update his classic kicks to what they think a Sonic of today would wear, which is a really weird thing to think about since he's a hedgehog. So it's not surprising that seeing him wearing super realistic human shoes looks bad, since he isn't a human. In the new design, they went back to basics and his shoes look more like his signature style, instead of something you'd find at the mall. Shoes might seem like a small detail, but they say the eyes are the windows to the soul. And in the first movie version, Sonic's soul must have been a horrifying void. The original Sonic actually only has one big eyeball if you look closely, which works fine as a cartoon but needed to be fixed for the big screen. So the production team split up Sonic's eyes and made them a lot smaller and more expressive. But instead of being an improvement, these overly human eyes just read as really eerie. The redesigned eyes might look a lot less realistic, but they're also a lot less nightmarish. They make Sonic look more like, well, like Sonic. These eyes manage to be expressive and convey his emotions while not terrifying the audience, and I think that's a pretty big win. Another big source of fright from the original version are those teeth. Yeah, those terrible, terrible teeth. You can see all of Sonic's individual teeth on the top and bottom, and it's way too real. They're so little, they're so sharp. The new Sonic has a much bigger, more cartoonish looking mouth. You can still catch a glimpse of some pearly whites every now and then, but they're bigger and less defined. It really helps drive home that this is supposed to be an alien creature and not a person. While his nose didn't undergo a huge change, it did have a subtle shift. The original nose didn't stick out as much and was more smoothly blended into his face. But in the new version, Sonic's nose sticks out like a big black gumdrop. And while those may taste disgusting, at least this one improved Sonic's appearance. There has been a lot of work done on Sonic's beautiful face, but he really got a whole body makeover. Just look how long and unsettling his limbs were the first time around. The Sega Sonic we all know and love doesn't really have a defined bone structure. He's kinda just a big old noodle hog, and that works fine for him. What doesn't work is giving him clearly defined elbows and knees. He even has calf muscles and really weird skinny ankles. While it feels weird to body shame an anthropomorphic hedgehog, I do have to say it looks really off, especially because of his head-to-torso ratio. Unlike real hedgehogs, Sonic has always had a big head, and we mean that literally. Trying to give him human proportions definitely backfired in a major way. In the new design, Sonic looks a lot more like the cartoonish version we're used to. His limbs aren't as muscular, and his ankles look like they could actually support his body weight, which is a definite plus. And let's not forget the most terrifying element of the old design: those fingers. In the new version of the design, Sonic still has 5 fingers, but he appears to be wearing a giant pair of white gloves like he does in the cartoons. This means no scary, intricate, detailed little human-like digits, and my sanity's forever grateful for this change. Human hands are so unique with our fancy opposable thumbs that make us the envy of the animal kingdom. Seeing a tiny little creature with furry human hands is just freaky. When the first version of the trailer came out, everyone lost their minds about Sonic's appearance. It got so bad that the studio pushed back the release date and made a whole new Sonic. This caused some fans to theorize that the whole thing was just one big publicity stunt. It was either a nightmare or a joke, and a lot of people put their money on joke. Fans began to wonder if Paramount had put out a bad first draft of Sonic on purpose to get people talking about it and generate hype for the film. After all, how did anyone put that trailer together and think, yeah, this looks good? Putting out a bad Sonic would get everyone's attention, and changing him into a good Sonic would make fans feel like their opinions were valued and taken into account. Maybe they always intended to release the movie later and didn't actually lose anything by, quote, pushing the release date back. But the thing is, the Sonic that we met in the first trailer was a good one, even though he was awful. Let me explain. He's good in the sense that people clearly put a lot of time, effort, and resources into creating him. It's clear that they didn't just slap together a haphazard creature just to watch everybody lose their minds over it and pull the old switcheroo. Don't get me wrong, he's terrible looking, but making him definitely wasn't cheap. If this was an elaborate publicity stunt, then it was a really expensive one. We know what the general public thinks about the redesign, but what about the cast of the movie? Ben Schwartz voices Sonic and said he was totally fine with his character getting a makeover. He even added that he was pleased the studio was taking fan feedback into account. Plus, and Schwartz admits to being a fan of the Sonic video games, we don't think it's a huge leap to suggest he might also be pleased with a less uncanny Valley Hedgehog. But not everyone's happy about it, including Jim Carrey, who plays Dr. Robotnik.
Of course I want a latte. I love the way you make them!
And was the only really watchable part of the first trailer. While on a press tour for the show Kidding, he was asked about the redesign and said he doesn't know how to feel about the fact that fans influence the change. Are fans starting to feel entitled? Does the majority really hate the first version, or are people just complaining because it seems like everyone else is? Is letting fans weigh in a slippery slope that will lead to artists losing their creativity? Well, first of all, us fans have always felt entitled. That's probably not ever going to change, to be honest. Ultimately, Carrey said, "We'll see if it's a good thing or a bad thing regarding fans influencing the studio." After actually seeing the new Sonic and how much better he looks, it definitely seems like a good thing, at least in this case. And at the end of the day, if the studio wants to make money, they need to keep the fans happy, or at the very least, not scare them away from the film. If I never have to see the old Sonic design again, it will be too late. What do you think about the change? Do you like the new design, or do you think the old one was just fine? Share your thoughts with us in the comment section below, and then click on that old subscribe-y-do for more videos from us here at CBR. And thanks for watching.